Well, you guys, I wanted to believe, and I poured all of my Samus-loving energy into making this possible. And unfortunately, I proved powerless at the end of the day because we did not get the release date for Metroid Prime 4 Beyond in the month of August. This sucks, man. This really, really sucks because we continue to wait and Nintendo continues to dangle a Samus-shaped carrot in front of us because August is over. And it's like September all of a sudden. We have 4 months to go in 2025, and we got this really extensive and thorough breakdown and expose on Kirby Air Riders with that Nintendo Direct a few weeks ago, which, even though it's not a game I'm excited to buy and play, was a great showcase of the game and a very interesting Direct, maybe a little too long at 45 minutes. But they gave us something about one of their mysterious holiday titles. But Metroid Prime 4 is the one that continues to be a mystery, and with 4 months to go, man, we don't know when we can play this freaking game. And so, part of the reason I wanted to make this video is because when I discussed the mystery around Metroid's date, early in the month, it was a few weeks ago, I think near the beginning of August, I was like, look, man, I'm just going to make the claim right now, based on nothing than just my own gut feeling as a fan, okay, a Metroid superfan. I kind of made the claim that it just made too much sense. We're going to get the release date for Metroid Prime 4 in August. This just felt like the month. Forget about wider Nintendo Directs, forget about Kirby Air Riders or the Mystery of Hyrule Warriors dates, or any of these other things. The fact that Nintendo has continued to maintain 2025 for Metroid Prime 4 just told me that August made sense, man. Why wouldn't they give us the release date this month to let us know and to confirm it is coming out in 2025 and here's the day and date? And I really believed it when I said it a few weeks ago. Again, no rumors, no leaks, no behind-the-scenes information. I'm just a fan at this point, man. I've been out of the behind-the-scenes information drip feed for probably maybe 2.5 years, okay? Since the last time I've really been talking to people behind the scenes and hearing things. So, only as a fan, only as a Metroid lover did I feel like it made sense. So I was never trying to be like, listen to my predictions, I know things and I hear things. You know, I just was like, it makes sense. Of course, in August, this is like the 11th hour, they have to tell us. And sure enough, I was wrong. They didn't tell us nothing. So the big question we're left is, what does this mean, you know? Here on the other side of August, I'm recording this on the 31st of the month, so maybe I'll post this before the evening's over, maybe I'll post it tomorrow on Monday, September 1st. But whenever you're watching this, this is the question I think we still have, is what does it mean that on the other side of August, on the other side of a Kirby 45-minute Nintendo Direct, with 4 months to go, where Nintendo was still telling us 2025, Gamescom happened and Metroid Prime 4 was playable there, PAX West has also happened, but Metroid Prime 4 was not playable there. What does it mean that we still don't know? And, I don't know what it means that we still don't know. I mean, look, you guys, I'm trying to give Nintendo and Retro Studios the benefit of the doubt because I love Nintendo, of course. I love and admire Retro for everything they've done for Metroid. They created my #1 favorite game of all time in the original Metroid Prime back in 2002 on the GameCube. I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt in the fact that they made it playable at Gamescom a week or two ago when that was, and they're still telling us 2025. You can go to the website and it still says 2025. So I want to say it's cool, and of course they're still going to release the game this year. And there is still time, but doesn't it feel with each passing day and week that we are running out of time for them to give us a 2025 date? I mean, they could still make it October, November, or December and release it around the release dates of Pokemon or Kirby. They could choose December, the last month of the year, to release it. I've doubled down on that many times as an option. But it just is starting to feel like none of that makes sense. So, doesn't mean they're going to delay it to 2026. I don't want to say that that's what they're going to do. Because, again, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. But, boy, it just feels absurd, man. I'm trying to not lose my marbles here, and I mentioned this on a recent video. I'm trying to not be an entitled fan that says, gimme, 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 because it's what I want. But as I have also said in that same video, when you look at it objectively, the Metroid Prime 4 situation, from the reveal in 2017 to the delay in 2019 to the footage reveal last year to right now, at the end of 2025, it is crazy how unique and bonkers the development and the information release cycle is for this game. Now, it has to be mentioned that, to no one's surprise, there's a lot of discussions around a big Nintendo Direct, maybe even several Nintendo Directs happening in September. And you guys know, over the last year, I've kind of moved away from the Nintendo Direct discussion cycle and the rumor cycle and the prediction cycle. Obviously, I love Nintendo Directs and I get excited for them and I see and hear the same rumors that you guys do. And I think about them and I get excited about the rumors that maybe I tend to believe or feel possible. Of course, I'm a game fan, I'm a Nintendo fan, I'm a Direct fan, just like you. But I've really moved my YouTube channel and my online presence away from that stuff because I think it's just been, for way too long, we've been paying too much attention to that stuff, and it's better to just be surprised and to just enjoy what we have between the Directs, and then a Direct happens, and we enjoy the Direct, and then we just move on with our lives. That's kind of, at this phase in my life, that's kind of where I'm at. And since I have a YouTube channel, that now comes through, I think, in the videos that I make. So, that is what it is, but given the Metroid situation specifically, that is the lens I'm looking at this Direct discussion through, is only Metroid Prime 4 at this point, because it's really all I care about until I get the release date, and heaven forbid until I play the game with my actual hands and fingers. It is the only thing I care about in gaming. I don't care about a Switch 3. I don't care about a PlayStation 6. I don't care about a Zelda game. I don't care about Mario. I will care about those things once I know Metroid's date, but until I get Metroid's date, I do not care. There's everything else, and then there's Metroid and the damned release date. So, all that is to say, when I consider these discussions or the idea of a September Nintendo Direct, of course I get excited. Of course it makes sense, because like 99% of the time, Nintendo has an exciting Direct in the month of September. And, you know, even Nate the Hate is saying he hears September 11th or 12th that there could be a date, probably like in the second week of the month. Okay, it makes sense. It adds up. I believe there probably will be a Direct. Other discussions about Mario's 40th anniversary and some kind of presentation or Direct around that. They did certainly do stuff for the 35th anniversary, so maybe something happens. Again, I love Mario. Don't care about Mario right now. I'm looking at you, Samus. So, if we get a Direct in September, yeah, it has to be the time, right? It has to be the time for Metroid Prime 4 to finally get that date. Now, the only other thing I wanted to say about this, though, is I am going to double down on something I said in the recent discussions when Kirby and Metroid was all in the news together, and I made kind of a jokey, fun video discussing the clash of fandoms and the whole thing that happened with Kirby Air Riders and the lack of Metroid date and stuff, and even my own, actual opinions on that. I do want to double down on something I said in that video around that discussion. And that's, even if we're going to get a wider Nintendo Direct in September, and maybe Metroid is or isn't a part of that, whatever, I still actually believe that what Kirby Air Riders got in terms of like a 3 or 4 day news cycle from the announcement of the Direct itself, 45 minutes, tons of new information, a release date that had everyone talking, Sakurai giving a bunch of information and playthroughs of the game in that long Direct, and that whole week kind of just being owned by Kirby news and excitement and people now understanding when they could buy and play this new Kirby game. I feel like Metroid Prime 4 really is worthy of and even deserves the exact same kind of treatment. And when I say the exact same kind of treatment, I mean that I kind of feel the game deserves to have a 4-day to week-long news cycle that is dedicated to just news and excitement and announcements and gameplay and Kensuke Tanabe interviews and a release date around Metroid Prime 4. So, independent from a wider Nintendo Direct in September, I think Metroid Prime 4 should get the same thing Kirby got. It doesn't have to be 45 minutes, as much as I would love it, but some kind of announcement of a Metroid Direct, then the Metroid Direct happens, maybe it's 20 or 25 minutes, tons of footage, tons of details, interviews, and a really exciting, brand new, flashy release date. I mean, just picture it, man. Yes, I'm talking to like Nintendo and game fans who would be excited about Prime 4, but I'm also talking to you fellow Metroid super fans just like me. Think of how dope it would be if like maybe the first week of September, they say, hey, it's a Tuesday, and they say, hey, tune in on Thursday for a 20-minute Metroid Prime 4 Nintendo Direct, featuring new footage and gameplay details and interviews with Kensuke Tanabe and the Retro Studios staff. And they don't even have to tell us the release date will be in it because we will all know that that's going to happen. And suddenly, that week, 4 days minimum, maybe the whole week, is dedicated to everybody saying, holy shit, it's time for Metroid. There's a Direct, we're getting details, we'll learn the date, we'll talk about the date, we'll talk about the footage. You know me, I'll be making like 15 videos breaking down the footage and theorizing and speculating on what's happening with the story and Samus and Planet Vueros and Silux and the artifact and all this crazy cool stuff, the psychic abilities, the new suit. Maybe they talk about, like, online multiplayer gameplay for the game, you know, who knows? We get to talk about that stuff, man. And sure, they could give us a 45-minute regular Direct on September 11th or 12th, and maybe there's a minute-long trailer that shows a couple of new things, and then they say, you can play Metroid Prime 4 on November 13th, or whatever date they would say. And it's like, oh, great, that's super exciting. But that's just 60 seconds in one big piece of news amongst 45 minutes worth of other stuff. And it certainly wouldn't be Nintendo's big final thing, because they're going to probably want to announce like a new Mario game for next year, or some other bigger game than Metroid in that Direct. So suddenly Metroid Prime 4, in theory, I'm only guessing, wouldn't even own the news cycle of that singular 45-minute wider Direct. But if it has a week dedicated to its own show, its own details, and the release date, Samus owns that week and owns all the hype for that period of time. So naturally, that's my dream. The only other thing to then talk about is what date would make sense. Again, if we're committing to 2025, like Nintendo keeps doubling down on, the carrot that they're dangling in front of us, what would a 2025 date be? Well, I've kind of settled on, and if you've followed my videos, you've probably seen my opinions and my guesses shift with every new conversation, because all I can do is shift my dates, because every new day and week, we don't get the date. So yeah, my guesses are constantly changing, because that's the information I have to go on. So as of the recording of this video, and this might change next week, who knows, I'm kind of settling on two time frames. One is, yes, I keep talking about December. I'm not predicting December, but I still think it could make sense for the reasons I've talked about before. Xenoblade games and Smash Bros. Ultimate, you know, Nintendo has released some big games in December before, including two of them being on the Nintendo Switch 1, and with Pokemon being October and Kirby being November, if Nintendo wants one big game per month, I think the first week of December is possible. You know, that's when they released Xenoblade Chronicles 2 and Smash Brothers. We're like literally the first week of December in their respective years. So I think Metroid could make sense for that time. Is it my prediction? No. But is it an option we should all keep available in our mind's eye as a possibility? Yes, I think so. The other one, and this is kind of new for me to really feel comfortable saying that maybe this does make sense, is if in the first half of September, so like in the next basically 2 weeks, if they give us the release date, however they do it, if they tweet it, if it's in a Direct, if it's in a Metroid trailer, whatever they do, we get the date in the next 2 weeks. I think Nintendo actually could get away, and I've changed my mind on this, with releasing Metroid Prime 4 between Pokemon on October 16th and Kirby on November 20th. Because you have about 4.5 or so weeks, it's like just over a month between those two games. If they wanted to go crazy in the end of the year and for the holiday shopping season and do like 2-week increments of it's Pokemon, 2 weeks later it's Metroid, 2 weeks later it's Kirby. It's a lot of big high-profile games over the span of 4 weeks, 2 weeks apart each. I mean, it's a lot, but could they do it? Yeah, I could see, like, I can't remember. Let me see if I'll pull up this calendar on my computer here. I think, because let me think, October 16th is Thursday, of course. They do Thursdays. October 16th. And then 2 weeks later, exactly, would be October 30th. So maybe October 30th, 2 weeks after Pokemon, they release it, because then it's exactly 3 weeks later that Kirby would come out. Or they could skip October 30th and do a week later and do November 6th. So they could do Thursday the 16th for Pokemon, Thursday the 30th, or the week after the 6th for Metroid, and then another 2 or 3 weeks later on the 20th is Kirby. So it's 3 big games over the course of only 5 weeks. They could do it. So, and it's also worth noting, if they do that, Metroid between Pokemon and Kirby, I think that the reveal of the release date in early-ish September, it's not bad, considering the fact that the game was first shown to us last year. It's been over a year and a half since we saw the first, or it's been a year and a half since we saw the first footage. We've seen a few trailers and 17 minutes worth of Switch 2 4K gameplay at the Treehouse in April. We've had enough footage that with, you know, again, a 15 or 20 minute direct, or even like a 3 to 5 minute very thorough overview trailer that also gives us the date. They could announce Metroid Prime 4's date in early September, and you know what? 4 to 6 weeks later, releasing the game at the end of October or the beginning of November, they sandwiching it between 2 other big games, but like, it kind of lines up better than I realized when I actually sat down and thought about it. So, this is a long-winded way for me to say early December or sandwiched between Pokemon and Kirby. I could see that being one of those 2 areas being the 2025 release date for Metroid Prime 4. So, this is kind of my update conversation, my thoughts, you know, at the end of August with the Kirby Direct and even the Kirby DLC, which I'm actually playing currently and I think is really, really good and a lot of fun. Thinking about Metroid. We didn't get the date in August. Maybe we get a Direct or 2 in September. I feel like, I will say this at the end, and I was wrong with August, so maybe I'm wrong with this. But again, I'm just guessing as a fan. I feel like if September somehow comes and goes without a release date for Metroid Prime 4, literally, once it hits October 1st, if we don't have the date, I'm just going to make the call at that point. It's a 2026 title. There's no way October 1st comes and we don't have a date for the game, yet it still releases in 2025. And so it brings me back to what I've said on these recent conversations about this. It's like, look, I don't even care if you have to tell us you are delaying it to 2026, Nintendo. Just tell us the date, or tell us it's getting delayed to 2026 or something. So either give us the exact date or tell us it's delayed. But I think it's fair to say after all this time, you guys can't keep telling Metroid fans to be patient. After 8 years and everything that this game has gone through and fans who follow this franchise have waited for, forget the patient thing, man. We've waited a long time. Your favorite franchise probably hasn't gone through what Metroid Prime 4 has gone through. So allow us to be just a touch frustrated and maybe not entitled, and we shouldn't be shitty and screaming at people, but I think we have a right to say, Nintendo, give us some information on this release date. I think that that's a pretty fair request from Metroid superfans like me and like a lot of you guys who've waited forever to just get our hands on this game, man. It's crazy. So, these are my thoughts. These are my updates. Tell me what you guys think about Metroid's date below. And thanks for watching and listening. I will see you next time.